In today's class, what we're going to do is we're going to construct a cross-halving joint as seen here in our screen on Onshape. So I'm going to redo this again. So my first thing what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go down to the plus down the very bottom left after opening up a new document called cross-halving joint. Our next thing is we're now going to click on Create Part Studio. And off we go. Sketch in the front plane. Click front. Corner rectangle, start from the origin. Any size. Dimension 1, the long side up on top to be 200, press F on your keypad. And its adjacent side 18. Now we will extrude and we want to go to new and we'll just revolve, switch direction and an extrude of 40 millimeters. Right click, edit appearance, off we go. Next now what I'm going to do is now I'm going to take my insert out of my joint, okay, my trench, okay, in order for the whole joint to assemble. Just gonna press top here so we can see it correctly. That distance is 40. This distance from here to here is 80. And 80 will be our remainder on our other side. Now we're going to go to extrude and remove this time. And we're going to go down halfway, which is 9 millimeters. Okay. So that's all we need to do. Our next thing now that we need to do is just go into an assembly. So I'm just going to go down to the bottom left here again, and I'm going to go to create assembly. And my next step now is to insert the part that I've just made. Okay, and we do that by going over here. So I have two parts here because I already have one made. Okay, if I didn't have already one made, there would be just one part here. Okay, so I'm just going to bring in my second part, which is here like that, and bring that in like that. I can press F on my keypad to fit it in, okay, and just zoom out. Again, we'll bring in part 2 because they're the exact same, okay, and we'll just leave it down like that and press correct. So what we want to do here is we want to assemble these, but first we need to orientate one of these in the correct orientation in order for our joint to assemble. So in order to do this, I'm simply just going to left click on one of my pieces, and I've got 3 tridents here. Okay, these tridents will allow me to move my piece in whatever direction I want. Okay, so as you can see here, okay, this will turn around this way, and I can put in 90 degrees. Just type in 90 and enter. That's that. And the next thing that I need to do is I need to rotate it this way. Okay, so catch that ball and move it, and it's actually rotating an angle of 180. So just type in 180 and press enter. Okay, and there we have it. To get rid of this, just left click outside, okay, anywhere. So now what we need to do is we now need to mate these two pieces. So I'm simply going to click on a planar mate up here. So I'm going to left click and off we go. So I'm going to left click on that bullseye. And no, before I do that, I'm going to line up 2 sides, and these 2 sides are here and here. Okay, so it's this face. The bullseye for that face is there. Okay, press correct. Okay, now we can still pull these apart. They still are not mated yet. Okay, so we have those two sides flushed. The next thing now what we can do is we can now link that face and that face. Okay, and lastly, okay, all we need to do now is left click here and left click on its corresponding face and press correct. That's our cross-halving joint assembled. Okay, so as you can see, it took a couple of mates to assemble that cross-halving joint, but we did have to orientate one of the pieces a couple of ways before we started any mating. Okay, so just be wary about that, okay, in future. Our next step now is we're now going to create a drawing, a nice simple drawing as follows. So something like this. This is the drawing that I have already created. Okay, so that's what we want to do here. Okay, so I'm going to take you through that, okay, quite quickly. And how do we do that? Go down to the left hand side here and we're going to go to create drawing. Custom template, do not include and do not include. Okay, this is an A4 size. Okay, size A as you can see. Okay, and okay. Okay, so what we'll do is bring in part 2. Okay, drop it here and just go down. And that is, okay, one of the plan views that we will see. If I go up, that's another plan view that I will see. So I like to capture that plan view because I think there's a bit more detail in it. So I'm going to go with that one. So I'm just going to left click on my elevation and move to the right. And I should get the end view. I'm going to click on my elevation again and I'm going to go 45 degrees down this way. And see what do I get. Okay, so I got that. Not really that great of a view. I think this is a lot better. So I'm going to go with that. So there are my 3 views established. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to move them and change their scale. So I'm just going to drag that, okay, roughly, no, press escape. Okay, so just catch it and move. Catch this, I'm going to move that below it. I'd like for these to be a bit bigger, so I'm just going to go with double left click. This is a scale of 1 to 3, we're going to go 1 to 2. Okay, it's a bit bigger. Move out my end view. Right, press correct here. Now, so we'll delete this. And my next thing what I want to do is I'd like to bring in another view and just see what we have. And go to assemblies. Okay, so this is, so I've got 2 assemblies here in this document, as you know. My first assembly was the one that I already pre-made and pre-done. Our second assembly, which I just made, okay, there very shortly ago, that's generating a preview there. Okay, so if you wanted, you could just click on that. Okay, so that's the assembly. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to go to view orientation and isometric. So I want an isometric view of this, and that should be there. Okay, so that's quite nice. So I'll move this view here, and I'll move this view here, and I'll change the scale on that to make it a bit bigger. 1 to 2. That should be good. Just press correct and delete that scale. Okay, so we're going to insert a note. This is very simply cross-halving joint, and I'll pull it out. So I've got my 3 labels put in for my front elevation, my plan view, and my end elevation. I'm going to delete this, and we'll add in some more notes. Sorry, here. This is an isometric view of one part. Okay, so we're just going to say so isometric view of cross-halving joint, I suppose. And I'll make that a bit thinner. Okay, press correct. And here we have computer's a small bit glitchy, apologies. And we're nearly finished. We're just going to add some few dimensions onto our drawing. Okay, so before we do this, we might just space out, okay, our views. It's always nice to just have a bit of room. Okay. Our dimension is up on top here. So the first thing what we're going to do is we're going to go with the overall dimension, which is here. They're all in inches, which is imperial. We'll change those later on. Just going to do all of it as one and then change everything. Just try and have our dimensions at the same height as our neighbouring labelling. So that's pretty much everything. We just need to go with the depth of that. And that's quite good there. So let's change everything now into millimeters. And we don't want to go with any decimal points. So just click out here. So one thing that I've learned here is if you just go down and on one of these diamonds, if you just click it, you'll see that the arrow moves to the right hand side. Okay, it's quite handy. That's about everything, I think. So I might just move this view over to the right a small little bit, and the rest then should follow. Okay, plan view, front view, elevation. Okay, so that's it. Obviously, this is self-saving software, so we don't have to save it. That's your assembly, and that's our drawing that we've just done. Thank you.